How's it going, everyone? So in this video, I want to talk about self-defense and how I've come to define it. Self-defense is commonly thought of as learning some kind of martial art in order to ward off a potential attacker, or even carrying a gun to protect yourself or your home. While I believe these are both valid examples of self-defense, I want to go into why self-defense is so much more than defending ourselves from direct physical attacks. Think about the last time you received a traffic ticket, paid a fine, paid taxes, or had to go to court for some reason. Now, according to natural law, unless you did direct harm to another being, you really did nothing wrong. We could get into this whole idea that traffic laws are put into place for our safety and taxes are there to provide us with the things we need, but this is an argument for another video. Anyone who truly understands natural law and has honestly looked into concepts like voluntarism or true anarchy knows that these arguments really don't hold up at the end of the day. What I'm getting at here is that although many of us understand the way things should be, we're still largely living under an illegitimate system that exercises its mechanisms of control in many ways. And truth be told, most of the time it actually takes less effort just to go along with it and then take the necessary steps to completely break free from it. However, I think that should be everyone's ultimate goal. I've spent a good amount of time looking into the law, and although I'm not yet at the point where I'd be comfortable going to court and putting into practice the concepts that I've learned, I've come to understand that there really is something to it. We could go into this whole state-national movement and all that, the many common themes found in various schools of thought related to sovereignty, common law, etc., but this video would be way too long. I do believe, however, that understanding basic concepts like jurisdiction and knowing how to distinguish whether we're operating in commerce or in private is an important first step. I also believe the more we can stay in the private and out of commerce, the better we'll be. This is a whole topic that could potentially take a lifetime to fully understand. I've seen some people have small victories here and there, and of course, you always hear rumors. I think at the very least, we should know the best way to handle ourselves if we're ever stopped by police or have to go to court. Learning the true definitions and legal definitions of the words we use and may take for granted is a good start. Again, this is something that I still only have a basic understanding of, and I'm still devoting a portion of my research to, and I'd encourage everyone else to do the same. The next practice of self-defense I want to talk about is our health. When we're being constantly bombarded by toxins in our food, our water, our air, and even through invisible electromagnetic frequencies of many kinds, it becomes crucial to find ways to at least lessen the damage done to our bodies. I believe there is indeed a war on health, and it's being fought on many fronts. Do a simple search on most alternative medicine topics, and you're almost always going to find articles attempting to debunk it or brushing it off as pseudoscience. What does that even mean? I thought if something is repeatable and testable, it was actual science. Or does it only count if it's coming from someone with a certain degree of influence or purporting a certain viewpoint? Did you know, for example, that there are actually numerous peer-reviewed studies showing the effectiveness of homeopathic remedies for various conditions? And homeopathy is just one of many fields that fall into the broad category of alternative medicine. Taking the time to at least gain a surface level knowledge of these concepts is time well spent. Of course, I've always been a big proponent for the value of exercise and nutrition. No matter what school of thought you're from, I don't think there can be any argument that being physically active and eating a well-balanced diet comprised of real food is a bad thing. As always, there are contradicting schools of thought on just what that entails, but if I could sum it up, I'd say that as far as food goes, the more natural, the better. And as far as exercise goes, I don't think you can go wrong with a good balance of strength training and cardio. We could probably do a whole series of videos on the subject of health as well, But in order to cut down on time, I'll just say that we all need to realize if we're handing over the responsibility of our health to someone else rather than becoming educated on the subject, we're literally putting our life in someone else's hands. And we can't always be sure if they truly have our best interests at heart. I should probably add a disclaimer that this is not medical advice. You need to use your best judgment on when you should see a doctor and what steps you should take to improve your health. I'm only here to encourage you to educate yourself on these topics. Another way we can be attacked is through our mind. If you think about it, this can be the most dangerous, because if someone can influence you to do what they want you to, even if it's acting against your own best interests, then they've effectively taken you out of the fight. We need to be aware of the many ways we're being influenced on a daily basis, whether it's through the media, through entertainment, through advertisements, through systems of education that some of us may still be participating in, through peer pressure, and the list goes on and on. Learning to think critically and being truly open-minded are some of the most powerful tools we can employ in taking back control of our own minds. We should accept no one source as ultimate truth and always look at every perspective. I can't even count how many times I've thought an idea was completely ridiculous until I'd actually looked into it. The truth is, I had only heard of the idea, but never bothered to listen to the reasons why someone had that idea. I see this happening a lot, and it's something that I'm still working on being more aware of myself. We also need to ditch any biases we have, which can be much easier said than done. Just because we become distrustful of certain people or groups, because we found them to have been guilty of deception or other insidious things, doesn't mean we should automatically tune out every bit of information that comes from them. And the same goes for sources of information that we've come to trust. Being truly skeptical means challenging your own ideas and beliefs as much as those which oppose those ideas and beliefs. As Crow 777 would say, belief is the enemy of knowing. I think this is a good philosophy. We shouldn't simply choose to believe something. We should strive to truly know, and this can be an ongoing effort. On the subject of mind control, Mark Passio has put out a lot of great work in this regard, and Logan Hart on the Wizard Factory has an excellent presentation on the subject as well, if you're interested in really delving into the various methods that are used to influence and manipulate people. For now, I challenge you with this. Strive to know if each thought you have is truly your own, or if it has been put there by some kind of suggestion or outside influence. Now, along the same lines of defending your mind also falls defending your spirit. Once you've truly lost your spirit, what keeps you going? What does it look like to nurture your spirit? What does it mean to truly be spiritual? This can be quite a contentious topic and carry many different meanings for many people, and I would be very bold to claim to know the right path in this regard. We know that most, if not all, major religions have been manipulated or twisted in order to facilitate control of its adherents. A lot of this can be traced back through history, and a lot of well-known religious leaders of today can be connected with groups, organizations, or acts that probably would not be considered very spiritual. This isn't to say that value cannot be found in any of these teachings. I like to think about the idea that beneath all these religions and the ways they may have been manipulated, the common underlying message is love. In fact, the golden rule itself can be found in many of the major religions, just in different words. And to me, the golden rule is well in alignment with natural law. The fact is, however, you don't need a religion to be spiritual. These things can actually be antithetical to each other. For example, how many have been killed throughout the ages and still today in the name of religion? Could this be considered spiritual? I don't know, I guess if you believe in evil spirits. Some would also argue that pain and suffering are necessary for our growth. These are all ideas that you could take and run with, and although I personally feel they are severely misguided, we all have free will, so ultimately we must come to our own understanding about what true spirituality is and how we wish to practice it. I should also touch on concepts like meditation and divination as well. Although these tend to be thought of as pertaining more to Eastern religions, they can even be found in early Christianity, and meditation itself has proven scientific benefits. Some, however, would warn against these things for fear they can lead to you becoming possessed or otherwise fall under the influence of negative entities. Well, I don't know if there's any truth to this. I'd say the better understanding you have of these practices and how to protect yourself from negative energy, the better off you'll be. I think intention is fundamental with any spiritual practice. If you're doing something for the wrong reasons, you may end up getting a negative result or none at all. So while the question of just what spirituality is may be difficult to answer, I think defending your own will and purpose from those who would try to take it from you is a worthy form of self-defense. So in closing, I touched on a few areas that I consider essential to what I'd call holistic self-defense. And by the way, that's not my original term. I found out that others have come to use it and they may have a somewhat different definition, but I think it is pretty fitting. Perhaps some of these ideas hadn't occurred to you before, or perhaps you'd already reached these or similar conclusions. I'm sure there's much that could be added to this, but I would just say it comes down to complete defense of the mind, body, and spirit. So if you made it this far, I want to thank you for watching. I wish you all the best. Take care.